The stars of the Orcs Prime system glimmered quietly, hiding the tension that had been building for months. For the Tyrak swarm, it was just another system on their path of conquest. A small, unimportant planet with a population too weak to fight back. But for the humans aboard the Resolute, it was the first chance to show the galaxy that they were not to be underestimated. Commander Leora Kale stood on the bridge, her eyes scanning the holographic displays of the system. Tyrak ships patrolled in predictable patterns, their massive fleets orbiting the planet like a dark storm waiting to strike. But Leora saw the gaps, the weaknesses in their formations. This was the human advantage: observation, strategy, and courage, Captain, Lieutenant Jaren said, pointing at a display. Their outer patrols are dense, but there's a blind zone near the northern asteroid belt. If we move carefully, we can bypass their main sensors. Leora nodded. Good, prepare the attack teams, but maintain cloak. We do not strike yet. We wait for the perfect moment. Timing is everything. The crew moved efficiently, their actions precise and coordinated. Every officer knew their role. This was not just a battle. It was a test of human ingenuity against the Tyrak, a force that had crushed countless civilizations before. Meanwhile, in the Tyrak fleet, Supreme Commander Cravath sensed something unusual. There is movement in Orcs Prime, he hissed. Scan all sectors. I do not want surprises. Lieutenants scuttled to obey, but their sensors could not detect the Resolute. Its advanced cloaking technology hid it completely, a ghost in the shadows. Cravath's instincts told him something was different, but he could not identify it. Humans were small, their technology primitive compared to the Tyrak in raw power, but there was a spark in them he could not ignore. Back on the Resolute, the crew waited. Every second felt heavy, but the tension was mixed with excitement. For the first time, humans had the chance to confront a threat that had terrified the galaxy. Leora knew that this battle would be dangerous, but it was also a statement. Humanity would not bow, even in the face of overwhelming force. Captain, Jaren said, the blind zone is clear. We can enter without detection. Do it, Leora ordered. Move quietly. Our weapons remain offline until we are in position. We strike fast and precise. Remember, the Tyrak rely on numbers, not strategy. We will exploit that. The Resolute glided silently into the northern asteroid belt. Massive rocks drifted around the ship, providing natural cover as it moved closer to the orbit of Orcs Prime. Sensors scanned for Tyrak patrols, and every crew member held their breath as the fleet above the planet remained unaware of the human presence below. At the same time, the Tyrak launched a small scouting force to investigate the asteroid belt. Massive black ships swept through space, scanning every sector. Cravath watched their progress on his bridge. Do not allow anything to interfere, he growled. Eliminate any anomaly. But the Resolute remained hidden, maneuvering expertly between asteroids. The ship's AI calculated every possible trajectory, ensuring that detection was impossible. Humans had designed the ship to adapt, to move in ways the Tyrak could not predict. For the first time in many months, a small part of the galaxy felt a flicker of hope. Captain, Jaren whispered, we are in position. The planet's upper defenses are within range. We can hit multiple targets simultaneously without revealing our location. Leora's hands rested on the console. Prepare the pulse cannons, she said. Weapons hot, but do not fire yet. We wait for confirmation. The silence of the asteroid belt was broken only by the faint hum of the Resolute's systems. Outside, the Tyrak fleets patrolled, unaware that their world was about to be disrupted. Then in a single moment the order came. Fire, Leora commanded. The Resolute unleashed a series of high-precision energy pulses, striking the outer Tyrak defenses with surgical accuracy. Shields flared and hulls erupted in sparks as the Tyrak ships were caught off guard. The attack was quick, calculated, and devastating. Impact confirmed, Jaren shouted. Several ships destroyed, others disabled. We are still cloaked! The Tyrak scrambled. Alarms blared across the fleet as ships attempted to respond. Cravath growled in frustration. What is this? They appear from nowhere and strike without warning. Leora smiled faintly. Humans fight differently, she whispered. They do not rely on numbers. They rely on cunning and courage. The Resolute continued its assault, moving rapidly between cover, striking where the Tyrak were weakest. Every shot was precise, disabling weapons and engines without exposing the ship to return fire. The Tyrak had never faced tactics like this. Their formations were disrupted and their confidence wavered. In the midst of the chaos, Leora made another critical decision. "Send out drones to disable their communications," she said. "We need confusion to spread. Let them fight each other while we remain hidden." Autonomous drones launched from the Resolute, small but fast, hacking into Tyrak systems and spreading temporary malfunctions. Ships misfired, formations collapsed, and panic rippled through the fleet. For the first time, the Tyrak realized they could be challenged. Cravath's eyes blazed with fury. "Focus all fire on the anomaly." "Find it," he roared. But his lieutenants struggled to coordinate their fleets as systems failed and ships became isolated. The humans were not just attacking. They were controlling the battle, dictating terms the Tyrak had never faced. On the bridge of the Resolute, the crew worked seamlessly. Every officer executed their orders with precision. Every weapon fired exactly where it needed to. Humans had turned strategy into an art form, using intelligence and speed to overcome the Tyrak's overwhelming numbers. "Captain, the main fleet is starting to pull back," Jaren reported. "They are disoriented. Their commanders are trying to regroup, but the drones and pulse strikes have caused confusion." "Good," Leora said. "This is only the beginning. We will disrupt them, show the galaxy that humans are not weak, continue pressure on their flanks but maintain cloak. We must remain a ghost until the right moment to strike their core." The Tyrak were relentless. They had been trained to conquer, to overwhelm, and to destroy. But humans fought differently. The Resolute moved in ways the Tyrak could not predict, striking precisely, then vanishing before retaliation. It was a battle of wits and courage, not just firepower. As the skirmish continued, other nearby systems began to pick up the signs. Alien observers who had fled to safety watched the fight with astonishment. A single human battleship was taking on a Tyrak fleet and causing serious damage. Hope, which had seemed lost, began to flicker in hearts across the galaxy. Hours passed. The Tyrak tried to reorganize, launching counterattacks and scanning for the human ship. But the Resolute's adaptive AI calculated every move in real time, keeping the ship one step ahead. Every attack the Tyrak launched missed, misfired, or was intercepted by human drones. It was a display of skill, precision, and courage the galaxy had never witnessed before. Finally, Leora gave the order to retreat temporarily. "We have done enough to disrupt their fleet and send a message," she said. "Pull back into the asteroid belt, maintain cloak. Let them think we are gone. They will underestimate us again, and we will be ready for the next strike." The Resolute vanished from Tyrak sensors, leaving a fleet in disarray. Ships that had seemed invincible now floated disabled in orbit. The Tyrak were furious and confused, their confidence shaken for the first time in countless victories. Cravath's claws tightened around the edge of his command console. "Humans, they are different," he hissed. "They are small, yet they strike like a storm. Find them. Do not allow them to interfere again." But even he knew, deep in his instincts, that the Resolute had shown the galaxy something new. Humans were not predictable. Humans were not weak. They were a force to be reckoned with. As the Resolute slipped deeper into the asteroid belt, cloaked and unseen, Leora looked out at the stars. "This is only the beginning," she said softly. "We have shown them that humans fight differently. The galaxy will remember today. And the Tyrak, they will learn that nothing can stop the courage and ingenuity of humanity." In the outer rim, distant civilizations began to feel hope again. The human battleship, small but powerful, had reminded them that even in the darkest times, courage and cleverness could turn the tide. The Tyrak had been feared for centuries, but now the first crack in their armor had appeared. The Resolute waited silently, ready to strike again. Its crew knew the battle was far from over, but for the first time humanity had faced the Tyrak and changed the course of events. The galaxy had witnessed a new kind of war, a war where intelligence, courage, and adaptability mattered more than sheer numbers. And the legend of the human battleship began. The galaxy was waking up. For centuries, civilizations had feared the Tyrak swarm. Their fleets were unmatched, their strategy was brutal, and their victories were swift. Systems had fallen in days. Entire populations were displaced. Fear had spread like a shadow over countless worlds. But now, whispers of resistance began to spread. The humans had struck first. The Resolute, a single battleship from Earth, had disrupted the Tyrak fleet at Orcs Prime. The effect was immediate and unexpected. Disabled ships floated in orbit, Communications were jammed and panic rippled through the swarm. Other civilizations, once too afraid to act, watched the battle unfold with astonishment. Hope, once thought lost, began to flicker again. Commander Leora Kale stood on the bridge of the Resolute, her eyes scanning the holographic display of Tyrak movements. The fleet had pulled back temporarily, but Cravath, the Supreme Commander, was already regrouping his forces. He was furious, and that made him dangerous. "Captain," Lieutenant Jaren said, pointing at the tactical map. "They are trying to reorganize. Their main fleet is concentrating near the southern quadrant of Horus Prime. They are sending reinforcements from nearby systems. If we strike now, we could disrupt their entire operation." Leora nodded. "Good. Plot the course carefully. We will hit them where they least expect it. Maintain cloak until the moment of attack. Speed and precision will be our allies." The Resolute moved silently through the asteroid belt, its hull blending with the darkness of space. The ship's AI calculated multiple strategies, selecting the one that maximized impact while minimizing risk. Humans had learned to turn their small numbers into an advantage. While the Tyrak relied on overwhelming numbers, humans relied on planning, adaptability, and daring. Far above Horus Prime, Cravath watched his displays with growing unease. "The humans have appeared again," he hissed. "How can one ship disrupt an entire fleet? Find it, or it will destroy us all." Tyrak lieutenants scurried to carry out his orders. Scanners swept every sector, and ships were redirected to cover blind zones. But the Resolute remained invisible, hidden by its advanced cloaking. Cravath's frustration grew. Every time he thought he had anticipated their moves, the humans proved unpredictable. On the Resolute, Leora gave the order to engage. Pulse cannons ready. Drones deployed for system disruption. Shields at maximum. Target their command ships first. Disable communications, then focus on weapons and engines. Move quickly, retreat quickly. We strike like a storm and vanish before they respond. The battle began. Energy pulses tore through the Tyrak fleet, disabling weapon systems and engines. Drones infiltrated their communication networks, causing confusion and miscoordination. Ships fired at ghost images created by human decoys, wasting energy and leaving themselves vulnerable. "Impact confirmed on all targets," Jaren reported. "Command ships are offline. Fleet coordination is collapsing. Tyrak ships are firing at each other." The Tyrak were stunned. Their fleets, which had conquered countless civilizations, were now in disarray. Panic replaced confidence, Cravath roared in frustration. "The humans are too clever. Strike them at all costs." But the Resolute had already vanished into cover, cloaked and silent. The crew moved quickly, preparing for the next phase of the attack. Humans were not just fighting. They were controlling the battle, dictating terms that the Tyrak had never faced. In nearby systems, alien species watched the unfolding events. Ships that had been in hiding for months began to move again. Resistance groups, long fearful of the Tyrak, rallied at the news. If a single human battleship could disrupt the swarm, perhaps they could fight back too. Hope was contagious. "Captain," Jaren said, "we have reports from the Outer Rim. Several systems that were under Tyrak control are experiencing internal disruptions. Communication breakdowns, isolated fleets, and resistance movements. Our actions at Horus Prime are inspiring others to rise." Leora's eyes gleamed. "Excellent. Humanity's goal is not just to win battles, it is to inspire. The galaxy needs to see that even the mightiest foes have weaknesses. We will continue to disrupt, but carefully. The Tyrak are dangerous, and we must remain unpredictable." The Resolute struck again, targeting supply lines and reinforcement fleets. Each attack was swift, precise, and carefully calculated. The Tyrak had grown accustomed to overwhelming force and predictable tactics, but humans fought differently. They adapted instantly, learning from each encounter and exploiting every opening. Cravath's fury grew as reports came in. "The humans are everywhere," he bellowed. "They strike, vanish, and strike again. My fleet cannot respond fast enough." Lieutenants scrambled to coordinate defenses, but confusion reigned. Ships misfired, collided, or became isolated. The Tyrak's superior numbers were meaningless against an enemy that could think faster, act faster, and exploit every weakness. On the Resolute, Leora gave her crew a rare moment to observe the results of their actions. Disabled ships floated in orbit, fleets were in disarray, and civilians on nearby worlds began to regain hope. Humans had done more than fight. They had changed the morale of the galaxy. "Captain," Jaren said, Our systems are holding, and our crew is functioning at peak efficiency. We are ready for the next strike. Leora nodded. Good. Prepare for coordinated attacks with allied resistance groups. We can amplify the effect, turning disruption into larger victories. Humans may be few, but together with allies, we can shift the tide of this war. Meanwhile, the Tyrak attempted to regroup. Cravath called for reinforcements from neighboring systems, trying to concentrate their strength. But the humans had already anticipated this. The Resolute's AI calculated the optimal intercept points, striking supply lines and reinforcements before they could join the main fleet. The result was chaos. The Tyrak, accustomed to controlling every battle, found themselves reacting instead of acting. Their confidence crumbled and a new realization dawned upon them. Humans were not just fighters, they were unpredictable, clever, and resilient. Across the galaxy, hope spread like wildfire. Alien civilizations, inspired by the human battleship, began to organize resistance. Fleets that had hidden in fear began to emerge, striking at vulnerable points and reclaiming lost territory. The Tyrak, once seen as invincible, were now facing coordinated opposition. Back on the Resolute, Leora stood at the observation deck, looking at the systems they had disrupted. We have done more than win a battle, she said quietly. We have shown the galaxy that even the strongest enemies have weaknesses. Our fight is far from over, but the tide is beginning to turn. Lieutenant Jaren joined her. The Tyrak will recover, he said. They are relentless, but they will remember today. They will remember that humans do not fight like others. They adapt, they plan, and they never give up, Leora nodded. Exactly. Humanity's strength is in its courage, creativity, and unity. We will continue to fight, strike when least expected, and inspire others to join. The Tyrak may be powerful, but they are not invincible, not while humans are in the fight. As the Resolute moved silently to its next target, the Tyrak fleet struggled to maintain control. Cravath's frustration was evident, but even he could not deny the impact the humans had made. Their attacks were precise, strategic, and devastating. For the first time, the swarm faced an enemy they could not easily predict or overwhelm. The galaxy, once paralyzed by fear, began to see possibilities. Resistance groups coordinated with humans, reclaiming planets and fleets. Civilizations that had once surrendered in despair now found courage. Hope, long thought lost, returned with human ingenuity at its center. The Resolute continued its mission, striking when necessary, retreating when needed, and remaining cloaked when the enemy sought it most. Leora and her crew knew the battle was far from over, but they had accomplished something extraordinary. They had proven that the Tyrak swarm, long feared as unstoppable, could be challenged. Across the stars, civilizations watched in awe. The humans had shown that intelligence, courage, and adaptability could turn the tide of war. One small battleship had disrupted an entire fleet, inspired resistance, and given hope to a galaxy that had nearly lost it all. And so, the tide began to turn. The Tyrak were powerful, but they had underestimated humanity. The Resolute had proven that a single, clever, and courageous force could change the course of events. The galaxy had witnessed a new kind of strength, a strength that came not from numbers but from heart, mind, and will. The battle was far from over, but the first victory had been won. Humanity had taken the first step in a war that would determine the fate of the galaxy, and with each calculated strike, the legend of the human battleship grew. The Tyrak had learned something important. Victory was no longer certain, and humanity had learned something equally important. Even against the most powerful foe, courage and ingenuity could turn fear into hope. The galaxy was changing. For centuries, the Tyrak swarm had been feared as unstoppable. Entire civilizations had fallen, planets had been destroyed, and countless lives had been lost. But the humans had proven that courage, ingenuity, and adaptability could challenge even the most powerful foe. The Resolute floated silently near the Orcs Prime system, cloaked and invisible. Commander Leora Kale stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the holographic display of the Tyrak fleet regrouping below. This was the moment to strike decisively, not merely to disrupt, but to ensure that the Tyrak would feel the full force of human strategy. Captain, Lieutenant Jaren said, pointing to a concentration of enemy ships, the Tyrak have gathered their core fleet near the southern quadrant. They are preparing for a full-scale assault. If we strike here, we can divide and weaken their forces. Leora nodded. Good, prepare all systems. This will be our most calculated strike yet. We cannot simply attack, we must outsmart them. Cloak remains active until the exact moment we engage. The crew of the Resolute moved with precision. Weapons were readied, shields optimized, and drones deployed to infiltrate enemy systems. Every officer knew their role. Every move calculated to exploit the Tyrac's weaknesses. The humans had learned from every encounter, adapting to the enemy's patterns and predicting their strategies. Far above the planet, Supreme Commander Cravath fumed. Humans, they cannot be allowed to survive, he hissed. Find them, destroy them, and let no trace remain. Their cunning is dangerous. We cannot underestimate them again. But Cravath's frustration blinded him to one crucial truth. The humans were not predictable. They did not follow patterns, and their strength came from thinking beyond conventional warfare. While the Tyrac relied on overwhelming numbers and brute force, humans relied on creativity, courage, and adaptability, the kind of warfare the Tyrac had never encountered. Captain, Jaren said quietly, we are in position. Sensors indicate that the Tyrac fleet is fully committed to their formation. If we strike now, their core will be vulnerable. We have the advantage. Leora's hands rested on the console as she surveyed the situation. Prepare the pulse cannons, initiate synchronized drone attacks, and target the command ships first. Timing and precision are everything. Once we strike, we vanish. Let them think they are safe. Then strike again if necessary. The Resolute moved silently into position. Its hull shimmered faintly as energy shields prepared for rapid defense. The ship's AI calculated every possible trajectory, predicting enemy responses and preparing countermeasures. Humans had turned warfare into a dance of strategy, using intelligence and speed to outmaneuver a foe who believed victory was guaranteed. Suddenly, the order came. Fire! Leora commanded. Energy pulses streaked across space, striking the Tyrac command ships with surgical precision. Shields flared and explosions rocked the enemy fleet. Drones infiltrated communication networks, causing confusion and miscoordination. Tyrac ships fired at ghost images created by human decoys, wasting energy and leaving themselves vulnerable. The Tyrac roared in fury. The humans strike again, Cravath hissed. Find them. Eliminate them at once. But the Resolute was gone. Cloaked and silent, it had already moved behind asteroid cover out of sight. The humans had struck with perfect timing and vanished before the enemy could respond. The Tyrac fleet, once confident and organized, was now in chaos. Captain, Jaren reported. Command ships disabled, communication lines jammed, fleet coordination disrupted. The Tyrac are reacting, but they cannot regain control. Leora nodded. Excellent. Prepare for the second strike. We must continue to apply pressure. The Tyrac are dangerous, but this is their first taste of human strategy. We will make it clear that they cannot intimidate us. The Resolute struck again, targeting key supply lines, reinforcement fleets, and strategic positions. Every attack was precise, leaving the Tyrac unable to predict the next move. Ships collided, misfired, or became isolated. The humans were not merely fighting. They were shaping the battle, controlling the pace and direction of the war. Across the galaxy, alien species watched in astonishment. Small fleets once paralyzed by fear began to move. Planets that had been abandoned sent out signals of resistance. The Tyrac swarm, long thought unbeatable, faced a new reality. Humans were clever, adaptive, and courageous. Captain, Jaren said, we are receiving messages from multiple systems. Civilians are organizing resistance movements. Fleets are coordinating attacks. Your actions are inspiring hope across the galaxy. Leora's eyes shone with determination. This is why we fight, not just for Earth, but for the galaxy. We are proving that even the mightiest enemies have weaknesses. Humanity's courage and ingenuity can inspire others to stand and fight. This is how we turn the tide. Cravath watched helplessly as reports came in. His fleets were in disarray and the humans had disappeared from sensors again. Panic and confusion spread among his officers. The Tyrac had faced countless civilizations, but none had fought like this. Humans were unpredictable, intelligent, and fearless. They had become more than a threat. They had become a symbol of resistance. On the Resolute, Leora made a critical decision. Prepare the final coordinated strike, she said. We will target their core fleet and supply systems simultaneously. This will cripple their ability to recover and show the galaxy that humans are a force to be reckoned with. The crew worked efficiently, executing orders with precision. Pulse cannons, drones, and strategic maneuvers were all coordinated flawlessly. The Tyrak, despite their power and numbers, could not anticipate the human attacks. One by one, ships fell, communications failed, and supply lines were destroyed. Chaos ruled the fleet. "Captain," Jaren said, "the Tyrak core is vulnerable. This is our chance to make a decisive impact." Leora nodded. "Engage, focus on precision, speed, and surprise. We strike once, then vanish. Let them remember humanity's strength." The Resolute launched its final attack. Energy pulses tore through the Tyrak core fleet, disabling command ships and destroying key vessels. Drones infiltrated systems, causing complete disarray. Tyrak ships fired blindly at decoys, wasting energy and leaving themselves exposed. The human battle plan was executed perfectly. Kravath's rage was unmatched. "Humans? They are everywhere! How can one ship control an entire fleet?" he roared, but even he could not stop what was happening. The Tyrak were retreating, their morale shattered. For the first time, the swarm faced a foe they could not overpower, a force that could outthink them, outmaneuver them, and inspire fear across their ranks. The Resolute vanished once more, cloaked and silent, leaving the Tyrak fleet in chaos. Ships fled in confusion, systems began to recover, and resistance movement strengthened. The galaxy had witnessed something extraordinary. A single human battleship had turned fear into hope and hopelessness into resistance. Leora stood on the observation deck, looking at the stars. "We have done more than fight," she said quietly. "We have changed the galaxy's perception. Humans are not weak. Humans are clever, brave, and capable of facing even the strongest foes. The Tyrak have learned that courage and intelligence can overcome raw power." Jaren joined her. "The galaxy will remember today," he said. "Humans have shown what they are capable of. Even the Tyrak will respect us now." Leora nodded. "This is only the beginning. We will continue to defend, to inspire, and to fight. The Tyrak may recover, but they will never underestimate humanity again. And the galaxy will know that even in the darkest times, courage and ingenuity can prevail." Across the stars, civilizations began to organize. Alien fleets that had once hidden in fear now coordinated with humans, striking at vulnerable points. Resistance movements reclaimed lost planets. The Tyrak, once thought unbeatable, were facing a coordinated opposition they could not control. The Resolute continued its mission, striking strategically, retreating when necessary, and remaining cloaked when the enemy sought it most. Humanity had proven that even against the most powerful foe, courage, strategy, and adaptability could turn the tide of war. And so, the legend of the human battleship grew. Tales spread across the galaxy of a ship that appeared from nowhere, struck with precision and vanished without warning. Humans had shown that they were more than survivors. They were innovators, fighters, and leaders. The Tyrak, humbled for the first time, would never see humans the same way again. The galaxy, inspired by their courage, had begun to fight back. Hope had returned. The Resolute had changed history, and humanity had earned a new reputation, fearless, clever, and unstoppable when the fight mattered most. Jack sat at the far end of the classroom, his fingers tracing the smooth surface of the desk. The room was buzzing with alien voices, a mixture of clicks, hums, and melodic tones. Some of the students had wings folded neatly behind their backs. Others had multiple eyes that rotated independently, and a few had limbs that glimmered like liquid metal. Among all of them, Jax looked ordinary, just a human. It wasn't that humans were rare in the galaxy. They were rare in that class. There were only a handful, and Jax had always felt out of place. His classmates noticed everything about him, the way he moved, the way he spoke, the way he thought, and unfortunately for him, many of them took pleasure in pointing out his differences. "Hey, Earthling," a tall insectoid student called, clicking its mandibles. "Are your muscles strong enough to lift that pen?" The class laughed. Jax forced a small smile and looked down at his desk. He had long learned not to react too strongly. The more he showed that their words hurt, the more they would tease him. But inside he felt a storm of frustration, anger, and determination. Jax wasn't weak. Not really. He might not have wings, claws, or telekinetic powers like some of his classmates, but he had something they didn't, a mind that never stopped working. He noticed details that others missed. He could solve problems in ways no one else could imagine. And while they mocked him for being ordinary, he quietly reminded himself that ordinary humans had done extraordinary things for centuries. But that was not something the other students understood. "Earthling, do you even know what gravity is?" shouted a floating jelly-like student. It stretched and warped its translucent body like liquid, casting prismatic reflections on the walls. I think I understand it," Jax replied calmly, hoping to avoid another round of laughter. "Think?" another student screeched. "You just think? We know. Humans are so primitive." The word stung, but Jax didn't respond. He simply opened his notebook, letting the pen glide across the page as he sketched a diagram of planetary motion. His teacher, a wise-looking alien with 4 eyes and an aura of calm, glanced at him but said nothing. The classroom buzz continued around him, but Jax found a small comfort in his work. Even though the bullying was exhausting, he had developed ways to survive. Humor helped sometimes. Ignoring helped sometimes. But mostly he reminded himself that humans were different, and that difference could be powerful. One day, he thought, they would see that. Outside the window, the sprawling city of Nova Centauri stretched into the horizon. Towers of shimmering metal reached into the sky, connected by glowing transit tubes that whisked students and citizens across the city in seconds. Spaceports dotted the landscape, with ships landing and departing carrying beings from dozens of worlds. To anyone else, this city would be dazzling. To Jax, it was a reminder of how far humanity had come and how far he still had to go to prove himself. During recess, the students gathered in small groups hovering above the ground or perching on hovering platforms. Jax remained alone, leaning against a wall, his bag slung over his shoulder. A group of alien students approached, grinning in that way that meant trouble. "You know," said a sleek, silver-scaled student, "humans are lucky they don't have scales. Otherwise, we'd have to scrape you off the walls when you fall." The group laughed. Jax clenched his fists inside his bag, but his voice stayed steady. "Why don't you try learning something before making fun of me?" he said. They paused, not used to hearing a human speak back. But their pause didn't last long. The tall insectoid flicked a limb and said, "Learning? From a human. That's cute. Really cute." Jax took a deep breath. He wanted to shout, to yell at them, but he knew it would only make things worse. Instead, he straightened his back and walked away, his head high. His heart was racing, but he refused to let them see him break. After the group left, a small voice called out from behind him. "Hey, don't let them get to you," said a soft, bird-like student. Its feathers glowed faintly with pastel colors. "You're different, but that's not a bad thing." "Thanks," Jax replied quietly. "I know, I have to prove it, I guess." "You will," the student said, smiling. "I've seen humans do amazing things," Jax nodded, feeling a little better. Even small encouragements mattered in a place like this. Back in the classroom, lessons continued. The teacher spoke about interstellar navigation, wormhole theory, and alien mathematics. Jax listened intently, jotting down notes faster than anyone else. He didn't need powers or alien abilities to excel. He had curiosity, focus, and determination. But as the day went on, he noticed his classmates whispering and casting glances his way. They were still mocking him, still expecting him to fail. And that gave him an idea. Perhaps, he thought, the next time they doubted humans, he could show them something they wouldn't forget. But for now, he had to endure. He had to wait. Patience was a human trait, too. That evening in the dormitory, Jack sat by the window of his small room looking at the stars. The galaxy seemed vast, endless, and intimidating. He could see other planets in the distance, each with its own mysteries. And somewhere out there, humans had already made a mark quietly, without anyone noticing. He remembered stories his grandfather had told him back on Earth. Humans surviving impossible odds, exploring harsh environments, building incredible machines from simple tools. Humans might not have been the strongest, but they had ingenuity, courage, and determination, the things that truly mattered. Jax clenched his fists. Tomorrow the bullying would continue. But someday, he thought, humans would surprise everyone. Even these classmates who thought they were so clever, so advanced, would learn that underestimating humans was a grave mistake. He felt a spark of hope and pride. He wasn't just a human in a galaxy full of aliens. He was Jax, and he had something that no one else had, a human mind. capable of solving problems, adapting, and surviving against all odds. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough to start changing the way the galaxy saw humans. Sleep came slowly that night, but it was peaceful. Jax dreamed of stars, of distant worlds, of humans standing tall among the galaxy's greatest. And somewhere deep inside, he knew that one day his patience, courage, and intelligence would turn every mocking word into awe. The next day would come with new challenges, new insults, and new doubts from his classmates. But Jax was ready. He had endured before, and he would endure again. Every joke, every snide comment, every glance of disbelief only fueled him. The galaxy might laugh at humans now. But Jax smiled quietly to himself. Laughter could turn to respect. Mockery could turn to admiration. And one day the galaxy would see what humans were truly capable of. For now, he waited. For now, he learned. For now, he prepared. Because Jax knew that the story of humans was far from over, and he would be part of making it legendary. The Academy's announcement had spread like wildfire through the student body. The next field trip would take them to Earth, the birthplace of humans. Jax felt a mix of excitement and nerves. This was the chance he had been waiting for, a chance to show his classmates the strength and creativity of humanity. Of course, not everyone was thrilled. His alien classmates were buzzing with whispers and laughter, already imagining how primitive Earth would be. Earth? Really? Said a crystalline student, its body sparkling like fractured glass. I heard their cities are just small clusters of buildings with humans walking around. How dull. They're probably still using levers and pulleys, a small, furry creature added. Primitive machines. Nothing compared to our floating energy cores. Jax's jaw tightened. He had heard these words all his life. Humans were weak, ordinary, behind in technology, behind in thought. But this time he wasn't going to let their ignorance go unchallenged. He approached a group of them quietly. You think you know Earth? He asked calmly. You have no idea what humans are capable of. One of the taller, more arrogant students sneered. And what would a human like you do? Point at a rock and say it's amazing? Jax smiled faintly. Maybe, or maybe I'll show you something that will surprise you. The aliens laughed, not taking him seriously. That was fine. Jax had learned long ago that patience was a human strength. Mockery would not shake him. The next morning, the students gathered at the Academy spaceport. Ships of all shapes and sizes hovered silently, their engines humming with soft energy. Jax's classmates were eager to board their assigned craft, each whispering about how unimpressive Earth would be. Jax stepped aboard the transport quietly, his mind racing with anticipation. He found a seat by the window and watched as the sprawling city of Nova Centauri faded behind them. Beyond the city, the stars stretched endlessly, each one a reminder of the vastness of the galaxy. The journey was long, giving Jax plenty of time to prepare. He reviewed maps of Earth, researched cultural sites, and studied human history. He thought about what he could show his classmates first. He knew they would be skeptical, curious, or dismissive, but he also knew that humans had surprises hidden in every corner of their world. Several alien students noticed him studying, whispering among themselves. Look at the Earthling, said a winged student. He's probably imagining what it will be like to be laughed at all over again. Jax ignored them. He didn't need approval or encouragement from beings who didn't understand humans. He had faith in his species, and that was enough. Finally, after several hours of travel through warp space, Earth came into view. Its blue oceans, white clouds, and green land masses stretched across the viewing screen. For the first time, Jax's classmates grew silent. This can't be Earth, muttered the crystalline student. It looks alive, organized, beautiful. Jax allowed himself a small smile. That's exactly what I was hoping you'd notice, he said quietly. The ship entered Earth's orbit, and the students could see cities filled with intricate architecture, fast transportation networks, and even machines flying above the ground. Earth cities were advanced but still beautiful in a way the aliens hadn't expected. Jax felt a surge of pride. This was his home, and it was more impressive than anyone had predicted. The transport landed smoothly in a large spaceport built for interstellar visitors. The students disembarked cautiously, their eyes wide as they took in the sights. Humans walked alongside robots while electric trams zoomed past on elevated tracks. Trees and parks were scattered throughout the city, showing a balance between technology and nature. This is actually amazing, muttered a floating student. Its normally confident voice was filled with awe. Not bad, Earthling, said another alien, nudging Jax slightly. Looks like your world isn't as weak as we thought. Jax didn't respond. He simply walked forward, ready to guide them. He knew actions would speak louder than words. The group moved through the city, Jax pointing out human inventions and achievements. He showed them massive bridges that spanned entire rivers, renewable energy grids that powered whole regions, and machines capable of flying in ways no alien ship could replicate. They stopped at a human museum, where holographic displays told the story of Earth's history, humans surviving ice ages, natural disasters, and even global conflicts, only to rise stronger each time. Jax watched as his classmates' expressions changed from disbelief to curiosity to genuine admiration. You survived. All this? Asked a small insectoid student, his mandibles clicking nervously. And you built all this? Jax nodded. We face challenges, yes. But we adapt, we learn. We create solutions even when it seems impossible. That's what humans do, the alien students murmured among themselves. For the first time, they weren't laughing. They were listening. They were learning. Next, Jax guided them to a technological showcase. Humans demonstrated robotics, artificial intelligence, and space travel innovations. Machines worked in perfect harmony with humans, performing tasks with efficiency and precision. The aliens were fascinated. One of the winged students whispered, They really think about everything. Their inventions are clever, practical, beautiful. Yes, Jax said softly. Humans don't rely on brute strength or natural powers. We rely on our minds, creativity, and determination. That's our strength. As the day went on, Jax noticed a shift in his classmates. The teasing, mocking expressions had faded. Instead, there was curiosity, respect, and even a hint of excitement. They had underestimated humans for so long, but now they were seeing the truth. The group traveled to Earth's natural wonders next. They hiked through forests, climbed mountains, and visited oceans that stretched farther than any alien had imagined. Jax explained the importance of conservation, science, and exploration. His classmates were astonished at humans' ability to balance technology with care for their planet. This world, it's alive, said the crystalline student. And the humans respect it. They think about the future, Jax nodded. Yes, we may not be the strongest, but we survive. We learn, we grow, and we protect what matters. As the day ended, the alien students gathered in a park watching the sunset. The sky glowed with shades of pink and gold, reflecting off the city below. Jax stood quietly, feeling a sense of pride swell inside him. For the first time, he felt that maybe his classmates were beginning to understand. One of the insectoid students approached him cautiously. Earthling, you weren't exaggerating, he said. Your world. Humans, you're impressive. Thank you, Jax replied simply. But we're not done yet. There's more to learn, more to see, and more to understand. And humans, we still have surprises. That night, as the students rested in Earth's Academy guest dormitories, Jax gazed out at the city lights. He thought about how far humans had come and how much more they could achieve. And he knew that this trip was only the beginning. The alien students would leave Earth with a new perspective. Some would respect humans, others might even admire them, but all would think twice before underestimating a species so full of resilience, intelligence, and creativity. Jax allowed himself a small smile. Today he had changed their minds a little. Tomorrow he would show them even more. And somewhere deep inside he knew that humans had only begun to reveal their true strength, because Earth was just the start, and Jax was ready to guide the galaxy to see it.